Hey, it's author and attorney Kelly O'Connell bringing you Knockout Radio. Now, today's show deals with public collapse of Biden in the Lemony Fresh town hall meeting. And I guess at what the Democrats' options are and their likely choices, which you might find shocking, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to blow your mind. But I thought I'd throw it out there to you. Hope you're well. And there have been a lot of flash floods across the West. Now, the master narrative is we're going through a 1,000-year drought in the West. But in a large number of communities, including Phoenix, including Salt Lake City, Tucson, in New Mexico, in Texas, there have been very serious flash floods, and it's been very interesting, and it's just storm after storm, so we'll see what's happening there. And I'll give you some weird news after this. But anyway, here is the story's titled, As Biden's Goose is Cooked, Dems hope to put Pelosi in the Oval Office. You're going to fight like a fish with several hooks in its mouth on this one, and I'm going to try to get you into the boat when I tell you what my theory is. And the collapse of Uncle Joe, stumbles of Kamala, and chain of succession make Pelosi possible and really doable, if you follow my logic here. Now, at this ill-advised town hall, there was this town hall, and it was Don Lemon, Mr. Lemon Squeezer, and he was with Joe, and he's getting questions from the audience. Anyway, it was okay. You know, Biden is doesn't really seem that astute anymore, acute, whatever you want to call it. And during this town hall, he says something. He says a number of things during the town hall, but you don't know if he's talking to Don Lemon. It sure looked like he was, and in fact, I would say if you watch the clip, you'd know he was talking to Lemon, but you know, it was just strange. He's answering questions. I think it was a terrible idea by the administration to put him out there like this, even this little bit of interaction. So he says to Don, you, he keeps repeating words, beginning of sentences. You got the vaccination? Are you okay? I mean, you seem, and then he's kind of looking at him, and then he kind of turns away and says, "No, it works." Or you know the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors, which is a term that means somebody you talk to. Think of the people. If your kids wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, or whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it? And it wasn't just that it didn't really make sense. It was the way that he was talking, running one idea into the next, and losing his concentration, throwing in stuff, and he's really good at throwing in things that don't have anything to do with the topic. So here you've got it all in one cluster. And so I think because of this one event, it kind of sums up, and people decide things based on their gut. They don't just use usually one little piece of evidence. They use a number of something as important as trying to figure out if the president is competent anymore. You're going to go off all the stuff that you can remember him saying and how he seemed recently, and the words and the way people reacted to him, and the stories that the Democrats give out. But I think after seeing this, that he's not rational. His brain's no longer together, and I'm sure it's not his fault. But what are the options? Now that it's become more than 50% of the people know that somebody else is calling the shots for Biden, it's devastating information for the Democrats. So, what are the options for the Democrats? First, somebody in the party needs to broach the idea it's time for Biden to resign. But they can't really get up and say he's mentally gone, because people were making that accusation a year ago during the the run up to the election, especially Trump was saying it. So you've got to come up with some sort of a disease or a condition, say MS, or he's got a very serious heart condition, or he's blood circulation, or he's got COVID, whatever it is. You've got to come up with some explanation for why he seems to have lost it recently mentally. Because if not, then you're admitting that you threw a coup on the presidency and used Joe to sneak in there. Well, he's not feeling good. He's got to resign. His doctors insist on it. And whatever that disease they want to come up with. Okay, so he announces he's resigning. Now, you got a couple of options here. You could do a double resignation, but that would really freak people out. I think that Kamala has to go into the presidency, but I just think that there's the possibility if she does, she won't let go of the reins because she's very, very ambitious. So you hold a news conference to explain the issue, and then that the president's been struggling. They put this together. They don't want everything to happen at once. Give people time to adapt to the idea a little bit. A group of wise old Democrat elders explain that Biden is retiring. They invoke the 25th Amendment. Biden gives a brief speech and resigns a while, stating that Kamala Harris must be supported. Or, here's another one. What Biden could do is ask one of his cabinet members, or just tell him, you're gone, it's over, and put Kamala in that place. And just say that, this is her real interest is in this thing that she's going to do. So somebody like, say, Xavier Becerra, Secretary of Health and Human Services, which she could probably do in her sleep, because she can't do anything anyway. Waking or sleeping, she's incompetent. But put her in there. And then there's a double vacancy, and then Nancy Pelosi in the chain of taking over the presidency. She's number 3, what they call the chain of succession. So order of succession is if something happens to the president, number 1, vice president, number 2, Speaker of the House, number 3, President pro tem of the Senate. Number 4, Secretary of State. So, because you can't fire a vice president. So, that allows Pelosi to come in. And so she comes in. And so she says, basically, I'm very humbled to take this. I had never planned on running for president. Never thought I'd be president. I'm just going to take this as one term. I'm a lame duck. And then she's going to choose somebody else as her vice president. And it's got to be from a House member, a Democratic member who's already been somewhat vetted to be your vice president. And say somebody like Elizabeth Warren, who is a very strong leftist. And it's got to be from a Democrat-run state so that that person can be replaced. Because could you imagine if a senator went in and that person was replaced by a Republican, they would lose the Senate. So, and that gives them a chance to have somebody really strong. And I don't mean strong. I don't look at Pelosi and think she's as strong. She's a great politician. She's very effective. She's somehow very manipulative in getting what she wants. But somebody who's decisive, and Biden is just a mannequin in there. You just kind of, set him up and let him put a tape recorder in his mouth. So the reason for this happening, I think, is why they would go through such efforts is because the presidency, the power means everything to him. Number 1, Joe is toast. Number 2, Kamala is unelectable. So Biden, while leaving, he can't stay in there any longer, really. Harris can't be allowed to stay. So third, they've already blown their cover. It's already obvious that Joe began as mentally incapable. So that's blown. They don't have to worry about hiding that anymore. 4, they're exposed as having run Joe as a coup presidency shill candidate. And now it's been added there's a shadow cabal of far leftists, a group directed by Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi and a couple of other people And so they have an opportunity to make a mad rush for more power, for more bad policies, for more ways at stripping out the ability of the GOP to get back in power. All right, now you're saying to yourself, this is surrealistic theater, and this can't happen, no way. But think about all of the unbelievable or absolutely wrong tricks the Dems have played the last few decades and got away with. Nobody stood up to them. The GOP feigned dignity. We're too dignified. We're too correct. We're too mannerly to fight in the gutter with you guys. But really, they've been terrified of Pelosi for years. And Tom DeLay talked about this, how he had to fight back against her when he was the hammer. Republicans have also been lazy and indifferent, self-righteous. Now consider that the term politician is no longer a mark, a badge of honor, but it's a place where bombastic scammers come to feed. So, now, let's demand the few good Republicans that are left, the Jim Jordans, etc., draft a scheme to countermand, confute, and condemn with failure, or to failure, these leftist evil stratagems. Now, can the Donald Trump contain his love for America, his fear, his need for revenge and personal ambition any longer in this latest American reclamation project? I say no. All right, guys, so this article is going to be in Canada Free Press tomorrow, which is probably where you're going to run into this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Now, I've got a couple of weird news stories for you, and one of which is telling somebody about this tonight, and I realized it would be good weird news. And this is in 2013. 4 Baltimore prison guards became pregnant by this same inmate, and who was also doing a smuggling gang inside the jail system and making $16,000 a month. And believe it or not, 2 of the women tattooed the inmate's name on their bodies as he showered 3 of them with expensive gifts, including cars and jewelry. And 4 women he impregnated, 5 babies. So it's just unbelievable. And it was from a street gang, and they're called the Black Gorilla Family, and they smuggled cell phones, marijuana, prescription pills, cigarettes into the jail. And the fact that he's having affairs with these women meant that he could have more power. So the government demanded that he forfeit $500,000. His name, by the way, was Tavin White. The 4 correction officers, Jennifer Owens, Katara Stevenson, Shania Brooks, and Tiffany Linder, all face charges. Now, he turned state's evidence, and he was only given 12 years. He turned state's evidence on the girls, but also by the he turned on his own Black Gorilla gang family. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to Kelly O Radio. Give me a thumbs up, and I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow. Ciao.